Hello everyone, let's look at this system of linear equations. We have two equations here and they're both linear equations, and when we are solving this kind of systems of equations, we usually use the method called the elimination method or the addition method, because that involves adding the two equations or eliminating one of the variables that we see here. And so the way to do it is to get the coefficient of the specific variable that we try to eliminate into the same number but with opposite signs. So in this case, you can see that the coefficient for the x for the first equation is 4, and then for the second equation is -3. And so we try to get them into the same number, or we can actually try to get the coefficients of the y into the same number but with opposite signs. And so first step is, it's important that we should really just label the equations first so that we know which one we are talking about. And so I usually just label the first equation as 1 inside the circle and then the 2 inside the circle. The reason for why we are labeling them this way is because we don't want to get confused. If you just, instead of just writing the circle, you just write the 1 and the 2 here, they may be considered as part of the calculation, so that's not good. Okay, so now just put a circle around them so you know that they are just labels. Okay, now how do we choose which variable that we should eliminate? One way to tell is that we try to see what the LCM is, which is the least common multiples for those coefficients is. And so for this 4 and the 3, we can just ignore the sign at this point. So for the 4 and the 3, the least common multiple, which is the LCM, is 12. And what about the coefficients for the y? The least common multiple for the coefficients of the y is 1 and 2. So, I mean, it's the coefficients of 1 and 2, so the least common multiple would be just 2. And so since this number is smaller, so we'll choose to eliminate the y. Okay, now we try to get them into the same number. So I also want a 2 right here, but with opposite signs. Since I'm doing operations on the equation 1, I can multiply everything by -2 to get that. So let's do that. Okay, so the way that we do it is that we are going to multiply the first equation. Okay, so we multiply the first equation by -2. And then what are we going to get here? We are going to multiply each term by -2. So if there are 3 terms here, so all the terms must be multiplied by -2. So this must be done really carefully, because if we forget to multiply one of the terms by -2, then we mess up the whole problem. We will never get the right answer. Okay, so now let's do that. Equation 1 for the 4 multiplied by -2, we are going to get -8. So let's do that here. We have the -8. And then the x, right? So the 4 turns into the number -8. Now, what about the coefficient for the y? The coefficient for the y is 1, and when we multiply that by -2, we are going to get just -2. So we are going to get -2 right here, and then we get the y. And then now equals what? Equals, we have -5 times -2, we are going to get +10, so that changes into a positive number. So now that's our new equation 1. Okay, what about the equation 2? The equation 2, we already have a +2y here, and so we don't really need to do anything to the equation 2. We can just copy it. So don't do anything for the equation 2. We just copy that. And then we are going to line up the variables here. So we are going to get -3x plus 2y, and that's equal to +12. Okay, now what are we going to do next? We are going to just add the two equations together. So let's do the addition. So this is equation 1 plus equation 2, right? So we have equation 1 adding equation 2. And so what do we get here? We are going to get -11 for the x, right? So -11 x. And then what about this -2y and then +2y? Because we're adding them, so when those two numbers have opposite signs, and they will cancel each other out, right? So we are going to just get 0 for this. So cancel this. And so there was no more y. So that's why this is called the elimination method, because the y is eliminated in this process. Or they call it the addition method because you're adding the two equations. But in fact, you can actually do subtraction, so you don't have to do addition. But usually addition is easier. Okay, now the equal sign. There's the equal sign right here. Okay, what about the right-hand side of the equation? We are going to get 10 plus the 12, right? We are adding. So 10 plus 12, we are going to get 22. So now it becomes obvious what x is equal to. We just need to solve this basic linear equation, and then we can get the final answer. So since there was a negative 11 in front of the x, we can divide both sides by negative 11. And then we can do the same thing on the right-hand side of the equation. And so our answer would be what? Oh yeah, those will get canceled, right? So we are going to get 22 divided by negative 11, which is just negative 2. So x is equal to negative 2. And then that's not finished yet. We still actually need to figure out what the y is. And so we got to plug this negative 2 back into one of the equations to solve for y. And usually we just pick the easy one. It doesn't matter which one that we plug it back into. So it looks like the first one is easier. So I'm just going to plug the negative 2 back into this x right here and then do the calculation. Okay, so now going back to equation 1. We are going to get 4x plus y is equal to negative 5. And so now plug the negative 2 into the x. Then we are going to get 4 times negative 2 and then plus y. Y is the unknown here that we are solving for. Then we have the negative 5 on the other side. Okay, so what is 4 times negative 2? We get negative 8 plus y is equal to negative 5. And then now all we need to do is to add the 8 to both sides of the equation to cancel this negative 8 right here. Okay, so by doing that, then we are going to cancel them. So you're left with just the y on this side. And then we have, what is that? That's 8 minus 5, right? Or negative 5 plus 8, which is positive 3. So our final answer would just be the order pair, because when we are solving a system of two linear equations, we are trying to see where the two lines intersect. So the graph of this, of actually the graphs of the two equations are lines, right? So we just want to see where they intersect. And this is when we put the x and y values as an order pair, that's where they intersect. That's the location that they're intersecting, which is negative 2 and 3. So that's our final answer. And then just keep in mind that the order does matter when you're putting it in the order pair form. What really happens is that the first value that we put here in the order pair is the x value, and then the second value here after the comma is the y value. So we shouldn't be putting 3 negative 2. That's not correct. Okay, so that's it for this problem. Thank you for watching. If you like my videos, please subscribe my channel. Thank you.